Let's not f***ing die here. New coilovers, they feel great, but don't push it right away. Let's get used to them.
Welcome to my party, we're just getting started. A life is a dream or a nightmare scarring. Hand me a drink, cause I think I'm going all in. Get me a shrink who can catch me when I'm falling. Cover up my scars, flip the handlebars, crashing in my car, wake up in a bar. I'll be a superstar, just on my avatar. This world is so bizarre, empty out the reservoir. Yeah, I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick.
If you watched my last video, you know that I've been tracking my car on airlift for about a season and a half now, and I finally decided to make the switch to coilovers. Today, we're going to shake down the car, see how it feels. My name's Eric, also known as Dad Hats on the internet. Let's get into it.
So much more grip, holy.
Immediately, I can just tell how much more compliant they are. They feel so much softer, and they feel a lot better. I'm sure they are going to result in some sort of advantage in my lap time just from that increase in traction. For the first session, I sort of just guessed what to set the dampers to, so I am going to be experiencing a fair amount of understeer right off the bat. Typically, manufacturers will give you suggested damper settings, but in my case, I opted for a slightly softer spring rate. So I'm running 8K springs front and rear, and the default option was 10K front and rear. Now, of course, the dampers are going to have a different effect than the spring rate that they were intended to be used with, so I just set them, sort of on the stiffer side, basically hoped for the best. So now's probably a great time to mention, I've actually been messing with some of my GoPro settings, and I added an ND filter to the GoPro. If you're not familiar with what that is, basically that just allows you to set the exposure, so you should be able to see the track and the cars around a little bit better without getting that really ugly washed out effect that sometimes I get in my videos, so that should be better. As well as giving more motion blur. So if you notice that, just let me know. You should kind of see it like around the edges of the screen especially. So like when I'm going down the back straight of Pocono, you should kind of almost feel the whooshing as you go by as the trees fly by. So drop a comment if you can actually see the difference. I'd be very curious to know if you guys like it. So as I come down the back straight, I'm really looking for this Miata to give me the point by. I felt like he was going to a lot earlier, especially since he was so far offline there. And so eventually he does give it to me, but it is pretty late and that corner was approaching pretty damn quick. So same corner, we're coming down the back straight. I check my mirrors and I see a Mustang that's obviously much faster than me on these straights. Pointing by, you gotta let those high horsepower cars just go. So I let off the gas nice and early, way before the braking zone. I know he's a big car, he's got to brake a lot earlier than me, and it looked like since he was offline so much, he nearly caught himself out. You see him have to swing back over. Now, funny enough, again, just one lap later, I actually see a GT4 approaching from behind. And same deal, gonna point him by on the right into the corner, and he does something a little bit weird here. It looks like he braked, and then he let off the brakes a little bit, and then sort of back on the brakes, and nearly outbraked himself, not making the corner. And you saw me go to turn in, and he was still sort of just sitting there on the apex because he was going so slow, so I had to slow up extra, and I got caught out in fourth gear going extra slow. But I guess kind of plowed through that second to last corner there, and I was able to gain some ground on him. But it's a GT4 on the straight, there's no way my little BRZ can catch up with him, so I don't think we're going to be seeing much of him. let's hop into my fastest lap of the session. So for this complex of corners here, I have a theory about this section.
A game theory.
I like compromising my line, so no touching the curbs. I just kind of focus on carrying the most amount of speed possible through that corner, and it seems to be working for me. This allows me to stay in a higher RPM in third gear, as opposed to shifting down to second, because I've tried it before, and then I'd kind of be in between gears.
Fuck am I up? I don't know what I did.
So keeping that higher minimum speed up keeps me in a higher RPM, which allows me to have more, torque, horsepower out of that corner. So as we cross the line, I end up getting a 148.26. I beat my old PB by about 0.2 in my first session on coilovers, so I'm pretty happy with that. Especially since we haven't even messed with the dampers yet, I sort of just set it to whatever and hope for the best and still beat my PB.
Well, that was fun. Scared there, that's alright.
So this is the start of the second session, and in between sessions I ended up stiffening up the front rebound. Adding front rebound really just helps to pick the nose up off the ground after hard braking zones, which is where I was experiencing a lot of the understeer. Alright, let's hop into the fastest lap of the day. I had one warm-up lap in session 2, and then I had one real lap, which I think I got like a 148 something, so pretty good. Definitely was feeling the right balance, and then right after that came my fastest lap, this one. Actually ended up nailing this corner for once, carried in a good amount of speed. Just got a little hairy on the exit, and it's always, such a scary place to have a slide, but definitely one of my better attempts for that corner. So as we approach this Miata from behind, he is going to give us the point by, and I think he's even very nice and, lets off. So that gives me plenty of room to get over, back in under the racing line, and enter the way I want to. I only lost maybe a 1/10 there, but I actually ended up gaining 3/10 back by keeping a tighter line there, and probably braking earlier. I actually overshoot this braking zone, just barely miss the apex, carry a lot more speed, and I actually gain time there. and then when I go to downshift to second, I sort of run out of gear and then have to upshift to third really quickly. Chances are I actually could have gotten away with third gear there because I carried so much more speed. As we cross the line here, I end up getting a 147.84, which is about 7/10 faster than my previous personal best on bags. Really tell who was at fault here. It seemed like the Alpha hopped offline to let the Porsche through, and the GT4 sort of just followed him offline, so maybe he was confused, didn't know what was going on. I know I don't. Whoever's fault it was, I ended up braking 20 miles per hour slower than I usually would turn in there, but I'm just glad I was able to not rear-end a very expensive car. A decent lap as of now. We're about 2/10 up, but I check the rear view and I see a Camaro in the back, so I'm going to try and do my best to get out of his way without ruining my lap. We're going to give him the point by in the corner. It was kind of quick, so a lot of things going on. Going to make sure we give him a double point by just to make sure he saw it, and then look at this speed as he blows by me on the straight. Don't think I held him up too bad, and I was still able to manage a nice low 148. Of course, once I see that Camaro ahead of me, it's super fun to chase someone, especially when you're the underdog. I'm going to be doing my best to close up that gap in the corners, even though I'm massively outclassed here. I do keep it kind of close, through the braking zone in the corners, but as you'll see in the upcoming straight, he really just blows me by, out horsepowering me like crazy. It's actually kind of nuts how much horsepower these things make. Now watch this. I get on throttle a little too early and push out wide and have to back out, and he's just gone. I really want to see what I can do on some sticky tires. If there's a chance, to close that gap up just a little bit more, I'd be happy with that. Don't expect any miracles though, I love my little BRZ, but that Camaro is just in another league. So this is my second fastest lap of the day, and I do make a really severe mistake costing me time, but somehow managed to still make it my second fastest lap. Just means that there's more time on the table than even my PB. After that mistake, just watch that time delta tick up. I lose around maybe 6/10 just from that mistake alone. Those slow corners are so important, and they're honestly the corners that I struggle with the most by far. As we crossed the finish line, I was able to get a 148 flat down to the 100th. I really want the car to rotate in this corner under braking, so going to be using lots of trail braking. Like I said, trying to trail brake, get the car turned in. You can hear me try to stabilize the rear with throttle. Instantly realize that it's way too much. Try to get back on throttle to save the slide. Just need to unwind the wheel, and
Almost had it.
Not quite. So as we re-enter the track as safely as we possibly can, you know, the car was totally fine. I was fine. The GoPro got knocked around a little bit, but it's all good.
Fucking hell, dude. It snapped on me.
So this is my last session of the day. Nothing too eventful went on. I did switch up the rears and make them a little bit stiffer. I increased rear compression and rebound. Didn't go any faster, so not really going to include any of the laps, but I actually did get a clip of this Miata's oil cooler coming loose in turn 1. There's this one bump that you go over in the braking zone. You can see he hops into it and then just starts spewing white smoke.
Oh no, dude, what the hell? Fuck, dude, got the indy. Let's see, hold on back here.
I talked to him a bit in the pits. Sounded like the oil cooler had just been installed, but the line must not have been tightened down all the way. Hopefully there was, you know, no long-term damage or anything like that. I'm not really sure. But yeah, just really unlucky timing. We were actually about to have a great track battle right there. So let's wrap this video up. In conclusion, very, very pleased with the way the coilovers feel. I was able to break into a high 147, which is pretty quick for my setup, I want to say. You know, I was able to touch the 148, like low 148s very consistently, especially compared to bags where I think I was only able to get to like a mid 148. So happy with that for sure. I think they exceeded my expectations, honestly. They really fixed the handling in the rear. That was my main issue with the way the car has been handling. It just feels so much better. My only complaint is I think I did go a little bit too soft on the springs. So I'm a little bit worried once I switch to 200 treadwear tires that I'm going to be feeling the effects of you know, the body roll. So I do have some sway bars that I did mention in a previous video. So we're going to do all the testing with the 200 treadwear tires and then see how bad the body roll is and then see if the sway bars that I have are going to fix that. Hopefully it's not as bad as I think it'll be, but we'll see. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.